Hi everyone, and welcome to the 8th episode of Sales Leader Stories. I'm your host, Omar from Stacked. And today we've got an amazing episode coming up with Robin, who is head of mid-market sales at Rydoo. On the episode today, we're going to be talking about starting his career in car sales, his career journey through LinkedIn, Showpad, Salesforce, transitioning to head of sales, and a whole lot more. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. Robin, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So cool. Robin, if you don't mind, I would love to go right back to the start and ask you how it is that you got into sales.
Yeah, great question. For me, it started actually in high school. I got an internship at the local BMW dealer. And for me, I was quite an average kid in school. And going into BMW, I realized that this is something I'm actually pretty good at, dealing with people, understanding what they need. So I saw how, if you're good at that, you can do really well for yourself in life. So that's kind of where it started. I got motivated by the thought of, dealing with people, closing deals. But I also knew that it wasn't car sales I wanted to do in the long run. I wanted to go more towards business to business, corporate sales. So I kind of went into university, started studying, knew I had to get a better understanding of businesses. And fast forward a couple of years, after my master's degree, I could see that the tech industry was the place to be. I was speaking to a couple of companies in Dublin, which was definitely the tech hub in Europe. And LinkedIn was what really caught my attention there. They had a graduate program at the time where you do a couple of different functions for a couple of months, and then you step into sales development. And that's what I ultimately wanted. I knew that sales is what I wanted to do, but I also want to get a better understanding of business. So that's kind of how I got into tech sales. But it all started back at the days at BMW in the local dealership.
Nice. And that was literally in the dealership selling cars to clients, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I was only working weekends considering I was in high school and then at uni. So I wasn't allowed to sign contracts at the time. I was very much allowed to, have the conversation, understand their needs, and pretty much bring it forward to the sales executive who would then create the contract.
Not that different than tech sales. Yeah, pass them on to the AE.
Exactly. Generate those leads.
Exactly. And then so cool. So fresh out of uni, you land into LinkedIn on their graduate scheme. Can you tell me what it was like joining? I think it was in 2016 that you joined in the Dublin office center where everything's happening.
Yeah, correct. No, it was a time that I'll never forget. It also sets the foundations. LinkedIn was a booming company. We were, when I joined, I think 7,000 or 8,000 people. It's big company, but still there was not too much structure. Everything was pointing upwards. The culture was amazing. I felt that it was really the place to be. People were outperforming their targets, making good money. But there was also this feeling of having people first. So for me, that was the one thing, the culture and the people at LinkedIn. There was a lot of events going on, the company making sure that people really see LinkedIn as the best place to work in the world so that they wouldn't leave to other companies. So that's kind of how I got schooled in tech those first years at LinkedIn.
Amazing. And like you said, it was this graduate program. So you're rotating between divisions. I think it was maybe talent and operation that you started with. When was the time that you got to get into the first SDR gig?
My first step into the sales development role was in May 2017. So then I had done, as you said, talent acquisition, supporting sales managers on hiring account executives, and then customer operations, understanding what sort of challenges are customers facing at LinkedIn, and then straight into sales development.
Okay, and then I think pretty much straight away, maybe in that first year that you were there, SDR, I think you are a global top performer. I think you get promoted to team lead, maybe 200+% quota attainment. Would it be fair to say that you kind of hit the ground running, you were a natural, firing on all cylinders from day one, or it was a little harder than that?
Good question. For me, going into the role, I was always super motivated. I knew that I could do well in this role. But coming into it, you have people onboarding you in an SDR team. There's already a culture there. I think in the first month or two, I got kind of maybe didn't achieve the targets that or the results that I was ultimately looking for, because, you become part of the culture that's already there. But after 1 or 2 months, I remember I was sitting down to myself and I was looking at, I had a daily target of creating 2 opportunities per day. But what is the maximum opportunities I can create in a day? And I started looking through, I have a day or two where I created 5 opportunities in one day. So I thought to myself, obviously, if I can achieve that every single day, then I will outperform the targets. And so I started looking at what needs to be done. And from that moment, I started doing whatever it takes to go home at the end of the day with 5 created opportunities. And that's ultimately what led me to, as I said, 262% of the year. Was a couple of hundred SDRs at LinkedIn back in the day. And I finished 2017 as the #1 global top performer, but purely based on a mentality shift from my own side, going in and seeing, what is possible, what do I need to do to absolutely smash my targets.
Amazing. And then I think, obviously you were top performing SDR, smashing target. I think then maybe after a year you were SDR, you were promoted to account exec. Again, was that a seamless transition? You took the mentality forward with you, you hit the ground running, or what was that transition like?
Yeah, so for me, in January 2018, I first got the opportunity to create or be part of creating a new sales development team for the first LinkedIn learning team in EMEA. But I always knew that account executive is what I wanted. So I spent 5 or 6 months kind of acting a bit as a team lead for that sales development team, making sure that the first outbound LinkedIn learning team would be successful. But I was always very focused on that account executive role. So say 3-4 months before I started the A role, I was very much spending time with the account executive, seeing how they work. I would want to stay as close as possible to their daily work so that the transition would be easier. And once I got into the role, you have the basics, what needs to be done to be a successful account executive, but that's still a big difference from actually doing the work. So the first demo I ever did, think I lost my words a little bit. I had another more senior AE on the call who kind of stepped in for me. And I got disappointed with myself of the performance in that first demo, but made sure to really shadow the other people in my team. What are the best people doing and how can I replicate that? And I think going into my second demo and onwards, it's changed a bit, it improved. But I was super focused on creating pipeline because I knew that if I could close 30% of my pipeline, which I could see, then it's just about filling up that pipeline and focus on pipe gen, and then assume that I would be successful.
Amazing. So it's kind of these two things, the mentality that you had, but also this kind of like learning mindset, always wanting to kind of shadow the best, learn from their experience, and just kind of be doing the numbers and building the pipeline.
Exactly. I had to believe, and it's something I've kept with me throughout my entire career so far, that I want to show in every single role that I'm too good to be in the role I'm in. So whenever I step in, I look at, what do I need to do to outperform in that role so that whatever comes up after, I'll be ready for that. And it was a lot about shadowing, as I say, looking at what do different people do really well, shadow them on that, ask for feedback, and try to create my own way of selling.
Okay, amazing. On that note then, so I think it was 8 months, correct me if I'm wrong, that you were the account exec at LinkedIn. From that point on, you moved to Showpad. Was it that just an opportunity came up? Was it you felt, the time was right to move on from LinkedIn? What was this like?
It was a mix of personal and professional reasons. The personal side, I'd always wanted to live in London. I studied in the UK. I wanted to try the life in London. But that was still just the personal side. On the professional side, it was that I felt LinkedIn, incredible company, great products. What you sell is fantastic, but it's still quite transactional. I looked 3-5 years ahead of myself. What do I want to do? And I came to the conclusion that I want to do proper enterprise sales, big deals, sit very close to C-level and be advisors to them. And I knew that I had to, first of all, work on more complex deals, work with solution engineers, bring in architects, and really lead those sort of conversations with multiple people on each side. And I saw that Showpad was an opportunity to do this. There was also the idea of them growing a lot over the next couple of years, which excited me. I can be part of shaping something. And I was alone covering the Nordics mid-market segment when I went in. So I kind of got the opportunity to build from scratch, which was exciting. And then, that was probably the main reasons as to why I wanted to make that move.
Okay, cool. And yeah, like you said, so obviously going to a smaller company, but they're fast growing. I think while you're there, they raised maybe their 70 million Series D round. So I imagine, yeah, hyper growth, moment of time, headcount, all of those kind of things. I think you do a year as mid-market account exec, then go to enterprise. Yeah, could you just tell me what your own personal journey was at Showpad?
Yeah, so when I came in, as I said, the mid-market Nordic segment was, it wasn't too much happening. There were a couple of customers, but there was so much to do. So even though I went in very focused on, bringing in a lot of customers in the Nordic mid-market segment, it was clear that the structure wasn't there, the marketing wasn't there. I had to do everything on my own, pretty much, it felt, for a while, with outbound activity. But I also knew that I could do it. So, I went in with the mentality that it just needs to work. And at the same time, I had my eyes set on going to enterprise sales at some stage. So what I mentioned earlier, going in with the mindset of how can I prove that I'm too good in this role already in the first 6 months. And it's a mix of luck and timing. I got interest from a very fast growing scale up in the Nordics in my first month, purely outbound with them, closed the deal within 3 months, which I think the VP sales, the CRO, and the CEO already got the attention on that brought in revenue already in the first quarter. So that got my attention, and then we got their attention on my performance. But then I was also very set on what do I need to do to be able to get to enterprise sales. And that was to obviously close bigger deals, but also prove to them that I was able to lead those conversations with bigger companies. So I tried to involve, if I had an important meeting, bring in the VP sales. How can I both obviously get him to see how I operate, but also get feedback? What do I need to improve? All the time, try to improve. But going back to the company, it was fast growing. We were bringing in a lot of deals, increasing ARR constantly. So it was exciting times.
Amazing to hear. And so yeah, so looking back at this point, you've had 2 years of Showpad, just under a year as an account exec at Salesforce. Do you kind of draw any learnings on, okay, we talked about like the mentality, the trying to be too good for your role. Are these the kind of skill sets that you kind of now look for maybe when you're looking to hire new account execs? Or is there kind of anything else that you think made you successful in terms of skills, mindset, all of these kind of things?
For me, I always try to build a team. That doesn't mean that I want 8 people with the same mentality. For me, it was very much super results driven and proving that I will hit the targets no matter what you put at me, and I will do things outside my core responsibility. But when I look at my team, there are different things. I want, people who are incredible team builders and really are there for the team, of course, also performing, but some people, maybe 1 or 2, are purely focused on result and they want to outperform. So I want to make sure that there's a variety of personalities in the team. But what I look for in account executives is very much being able to run good discoveries. Can they really dig deep into the pain that the customer is having, and then being able to focus on those pains, dig deeper, what's the impact of that? And it's something, when I look back at myself in the beginning as an AE, I think, you understand the pain, but you don't dig deep into it enough. So do I have people who can actually do that? And if they're not there yet, how can I coach them? Are they open to be coached? If you're in your first 3 years as an account executive, I think you need to be super open to feedback, super open to always learn. And that's ultimately what's going to make you a successful AE in a couple of years. So I want people who you can really grow over time and improve in all different areas.
Amazing. So cool. So you do 2 years, I think it is, at Showpad. From that point on, you transitioned to Salesforce. Same question as before. Was it just the opportunity? Was it you felt you were ready for the next chapter in your career?
Once again, mix of personal and professional reasons. Two reasons. Perfect, personal side, I was stuck in a room in lockdown in London, and I saw how in Sweden there was no lockdown. So I felt like it's time to move home to Sweden. That said, I was considering many different companies, but for me, I was at the time where, do I continue in enterprise sales or do I potentially look at more junior sales manager roles? Salesforce was very interesting to me because they had this, at the time it was called core account executive or account director role, where you basically, as you know, Salesforce is a huge company, have multiple business lines, and as the account director, you lead the account team towards the customer. So that excited me that I can stay very much involved on the deals, but I can also have a team of 7 to 10 different account executives who sell multiple solutions. And my job was to basically make sure we're all aligned, lead the team, lead the account plan for a couple of accounts. And that excited me, that it's a mix of both.
Interesting. And so on the leadership side of things, was that something always from the early days that you had in your mind, that you didn't just want to be the enterprise IC that was just killing it year after year? You did at some point always want to transition to be team lead?
I did. And I think team lead has never excited me as much as the thought of running a sales organization. For me, I remember first week at LinkedIn, the global VP of sales operations, came into the graduate program there, and he said, I think none of you knows what you want to do in 10 years. And everyone kind of nodded. And I remember saying, well, I actually do know what I want to do. In 10 years, I want to be a VP sales. And he's like, okay, you want to be a VP sales? You can definitely be that in 5 years if you want, but what are you going to do after that? And I kind of lost my words a bit. Well, what are you talking about? VP sales, that's the end goal. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life. But he really changed my mindset on, it's not about chasing that VP sales title. It's about, what do I really enjoy to do in work? What is it that excites me about running a sales organization? And so over the years, I've spent more time on that, understanding what is it that really excites me. And now, leading a team, that is really exciting to me. While I think when I was 23, I might not have been able to see that, the exciting part about it. So yeah, it's kind of, I'm always set on growing, but very much taking the time to also keep growing on the place I am at the moment.
Amazing. So cool. So you are at Salesforce then. So you're the account director. As I understand, is this primarily with existing clients? I think Showpad, you were new business. Again, some pretty incredible accolades while you were there. I think it was first year Achievers Club, 170% plus quota attainment. Financial year 24, I think it was 226. I think you brought in the top deal of the year as well. Could you tell me, what this kind of chapter of your life looked like? And now that you are leading a team of, I think it was 20 plus people as well.
Yes, I absolutely loved my time at Salesforce. It's an incredible company. It's a company I could see myself going back to at some stage. I went into a new business sales role where I had this, as I mentioned, you lead the account team for what's called general business, which is pretty much the upper mid-market segment or lower enterprise. And I did quite well in that role, but to be honest, I only had 7 months in that role before the CEO of Salesforce Sweden asked me to step up to enterprise. And I didn't, I think I got to like 80% in those first 9 months because I didn't have any existing accounts, which is purely chasing new business. But I made it very clear that I want to be an enterprise, and he at the time didn't think I was ready for it. But over those months, I was able to show that. So I got the promotion then to enterprise account director, managed, I was meant to manage 5 or 6 existing accounts, but it quite quickly changed towards me managing just two strategic accounts. At the time, they were enterprise. Managed those two, and it was going well. We closed. So as I said, the account director, you manage multiple solutions into one deal. And in that year, we did a deal with 2 different solutions for a total of $5 million over 3 years. And that's then made that account a top strategic account, as it's called in Salesforce. And with that came my promotion then to be strategic, managing those strategic accounts. So it's purely focused on one big account and one that could become a big account.
Amazing. So you've gone from enterprise to scale up back to enterprise. Then at some point, the opportunity for Rydoo comes up, which I think is a much smaller startup. Again, was this, you always had your sights on being the head of sales, like you said, since very early stage on your graduate program at LinkedIn? Or again, how did this come up?
Yeah, so once again, every time I move, it's a mix of personal reasons and professional reasons. And that's the way I always look at it. You know, it needs to make sense on the personal side and professional side. And I had my personal reasons to move to Portugal, but I would never have moved unless it was the right opportunity. And Rydoo, for me, I was a Rydoo user back in 2019 and 20 when I was at Showpad. And it was a game changer for me. I'd been using, not to mention the names, but old dinosaur technology when I was the bigger company. So for me, I was traveling a lot between London and Nordics at the time. So to not have to spend 2 hours at the end of every Friday submitting expenses, but I could just scan it on the go and it was done. So I always kept my eye on Rydoo. And then obviously when I had my reasons to move to Portugal, and I very much got my eye focused on them. I was speaking to a couple of different companies, but Rydoo stood out to me because they are good with bigger enterprise as well. So it's a machine in mid-market. We close deals constantly on a weekly basis, but we also managed to bring in some really big global enterprises. So that excited me. Also the thought of working directly under the CRO. So I was considering opportunities where I'd be, kind of first line manager only, reporting into senior manager, managing A's to set the grounds. But for me, it was also exciting to be part of the sales strategy, being part of, how defining on how we go to market. So that mix was very exciting to me. And Rydoo, it's just the beginning. We keep growing. So I'm very glad with that move.
Cool. And could you tell me then, so what the transition was like? So you are being an account director at Salesforce, and then suddenly you are head of sales, very small, like you say, extremely fast growing fintech startup. What the transition was like? Did you feel like it took a bit of time to get up to speed, or you knew from day one, okay, this is the challenge that I've wanted?
So when you go from a company of 70, 80,000 employees to a company of 150 people, there is clearly big changes in the way that deals are done, in the structure. But there's also a lot of exciting things. You can make things happen quickly if you need them to. I was impressed by how much structure there still was for a company of 150 employees. The tech stack that was there, we're using Salesforce, which is great for me. I knew it inside out. So I was positively surprised in some ways. And of course, there are areas where you can continuously improve. And coming from bigger companies, I think that's just exciting to me. Putting more structure in place, taking the learnings from big multi-million-dollar deals into 100K, 200K deals. That experience, if you can scale that across multiple account executives, then you can achieve really big results. So changes both, positively surprised and spotting areas for improvement.
Okay. So cool. I think a lot of account execs then who in a similar position to yourself do have the ambition of becoming a head of sales. Maybe if they're enterprise now at a startup or something, maybe they don't 100% know what they're going to get themselves in store for. Could you basically just run through maybe what a day in the life of a head of sales at a startup like Rydoo looks like?
A lot of meetings. Your calendar is yours. I mean, that's been the biggest change for me. I no longer control my calendar and I sit in a lot of meetings. So, you need to be bought in on that idea that, you're working from the beginning of the day till the end of the day, every day, back to back in meetings. But there's so many exciting conversations all the time. You're part of coaching account executives, dealing with everything from personal issues to deals. How can you increase the chances of winning a deal? How can you challenge them on spotting risks in deals? So that's super exciting. A lot of it is, you want them to be successful on their own, but you're maybe in the background discussing deals. Let's say you're having one-to-ones, you discuss 5 deals at a time. So you just get snippets of each deal. But if you can make them think differently in some ways and always keep challenging them, I think that's where I get the most energy, at least when they then bring in the deals and you can see that, the little challenge you did on them on some deals actually helped them to be more successful. That's exciting to me.
Okay, so there's a lot on, like you say, the coaching side of things, enabling your teams to perform the best. On your LinkedIn, I think from last week, there's a pretty epic picture as well of you and the account exec team going surfing, maybe Carcavelos or Caparica, I'm not sure. Could you also speak to the other side of things as well? Like what is the other things that kind of go into building the culture, the kind of environments where account execs can perform the best?
Mm. So I've had many different leaders throughout my years in sales, and some incredible leaders, some less incredibles, but it's usually you have leaders who are either incredible sales managers or they might be great at building teams, and then you have a couple, the top 10% are good at building the team and coaching you on the deals. And for me, that's like the first thing when I go into a team. I want to make sure that we build a team here. We do things for each other. We're there for each other. We always support each other. We cheer when someone's successful. We help out when they need help. And I don't think that's only done in an office. For me, it's about, you need to do things outside your normal environment. If we spend 3 or 5 days in the office every week together, then we need to do things outside of work as well, see each other in a different environment. So we've done a couple of different things in the almost a year that I've been here, and it's something that we'll continue to do. Surfing was, that was a lot of fun, and I think it's people let loose a little bit, see the person behind the name in work. So to me, that's core to build a team.
Okay, you did mention there that you've had great leaders, maybe not so great leaders. Could you maybe speak to kind of zooming out on the overall trajectory of your career development, the role that mentorship has played both as maybe the junior sales rep starting out and maybe now as the head of sales being this kind of mentor figure?
So for me, I've always wanted to look at different mentors. I know it's incredible when you have 1 or 2 mentors who coach you on everything, but I'd also advise people to think of how can I identify a network of mentors and spot for areas where they're really good at. And that's something I did a lot in the early years of my career. Whether it's someone, I had a mentor who I knew was good at listening to people, and it was an area I had to improve. So I spent 1 hour a week with her on just understanding how can I improve my listening skills. And then the next month, I was focused on something completely different with another person and use my network to improve with people or top performers in their specific area. Even now, as a sales leader, I meet up with kind of mentors as well. I have a sales leader, experienced leader I meet up with once a month just to talk through things. I'm probably going to build that out as the years go with multiple different leaders coaching on different things. And it's played a big part in my career. Also thinking at the strategic account director role at Salesforce, I had a close friend who's global account manager at LinkedIn. We could talk through specific things that I know not a lot of people had experience of. How can you make sure that you become an advisor to a CIO of a global company? It's not too many people you might have in your network of that. So identifying who it is and then ask them things about specific topics where you need improvement.
Amazing, Robin. Final question before I let you go. Could I ask what advice you would give either to a younger Robin just starting out in sales or anyone else listening to the podcast who might be in their first SDR account exec role on, how they can build a career they can be proud of?
So if I spoke to myself when I started out my career, I'd say, take it easy. It will come. You don't need to achieve all the results you want right away. It will come if you focus on improving 1% every day, then it builds up over time. Because if you purely focus and rely on motivation, it can go up and down each day. And I've seen that throughout my career, that if I'm super motivated today, I go all in and I perform really well. And then the next day, you might not be as motivated and then it drops. So if you can focus on improving 1% every day, it builds up over time. And in order to do that, you also need structure in your day, so that you have a minimum set of activities, for example, that you need to do each day, no matter how motivated or demotivated you are. So put structure in there, do the same things every day. Consistency really builds up to great performance. I'd also, when I think back, what I mentioned, identify different people who are great at different things and leverage that network to help me grow in my career.
Amazing advice, Robin. We will end on that note. If anybody wants to connect with you after the podcast, is LinkedIn a good way to reach you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Feel free to drop a DM on LinkedIn or even reach out to you and you can forward that to me.
Amazing. Really appreciate your time, Robin. And yeah, we'll speak again soon.
Thank you very much.